Healthy Scratch Red Wings Report, presented by 5v5hockey.com.
Yo, welcome back to the Red Wings Report on Healthy Scratch. Today, we are going to be going through a little bit of draft analysis, but not the analysis that you think we're going to do. Everyone has gone through the mock drafts. They've gone through the rankings. I have a little bit of a different take for you guys and what you should really be thinking going into the draft. We do this every single year, and I know that people really, really love the draft, and I'm one of them. But with hockey, it's interesting. These guys, most of them aren't going to make the team for a few years. Maybe the guys at the top might get a sniff, but it's going to take a few years. It's really hard to project where a player is going to end up. So, for example, you can look at players and try to project, oh, well, this player would be good on this team. We don't really know that. I wanted to look through a guy that I actually really, really think is very good at predicting the rankings and where guys generally are going to go in the draft, and that's Bob McKenzie of TSN. Now, Bob last year or the year before, I forget which one, he was tweeting right before it happened, and he wasn't even at the draft. He got like the first 12 picks correct. I don't know if he's a wizard or what's going on. He's the only one that I've ever seen do that. But I wanted to look at his rankings. So obviously Connor Bedard is number 1. Adam Fantilli, number 2. Leo Carlsson, 3. Will Smith, 4. Matvei Michkov, 5. These are names that you've heard, okay? And I'm going to make a point with all of this in a little bit. So you've heard of these. Ryan Leonard, Dalibor Dvorsky, David Reinbacher, Zach Benson, Gabe Perreault. That's the top 10. Matthew Wood, Colby Barlow, Oliver Moore, Axel Sandin Pellikka, Braden Yeager, Nate Danielson, Samuel Hanzik. You see where I'm going with this? Otto Stenberg, Dmitry Simashev, Tom Willander, Calum Ritchie, Danny Butt, Mikhail Gulyayev. I'm going to tell you right now, I am a hockey guy. I don't know a lot of these players. I know Connor Bedard. I've seen him play. I mean, if I've watched the World Juniors, is that enough to have an opinion on the kid? Well, the guy's a stud. Do I think he's a phenom? We're going to find out. He's a very, very, very talented player. He will go first overall. But the other guys, I've said this in a video before, and here I am talking about the draft and what the expectations should be for a fan. If anybody talks about prospects and says that they know what they're talking about, they're bullshitting you. They have no idea. You know what they've done? They've looked at a YouTube video that is 2.5 minutes long of a highlight reel package of Matvei Michkov dangling around and scoring in the Russian Junior League. They're not scouts, okay? If you don't scout players and all you're doing is looking at, ooh, I like how this guy plays. We've learned our lesson, okay? Remember Philip Zadina? He still has some time, but 6th overall, I was so happy that they picked him up. So happy. And look at him now. I thought he was going to be like a 30-goal scorer. He can't even play 30 games. And then look at Mo Seider. He was ranked like 26th overall in the first round, goes 6th overall. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Calder Trophy winner, number 1 defenseman on our team, by far. He'll get Norris Trophy votes. If you think you know anything about prospects, you don't. And I know the ending of that was pretty abrupt, but my point is none of us have any clue who is going to go where, and to have an opinion is totally fine. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion like, hey, you know, I like this player. I've watched him play a lot. I don't know, you know, a fan's relationship with a player. Maybe they play in their junior town or there's some type of thing that they really like about their game. That's totally fine. But to have extremely strong opinions on it, it's really hard to project these guys. You look at, like, each team has a scouting department with tons of scouts that do this. They get paid and they do it for a living, and they get it wrong sometimes. That's the nature of the draft. And it goes like that with every single sport that has an entry draft, with young players, prospects that are coming up, that are still growing into their bodies, that are still figuring out their talents. They've got to figure out how they're going to fit into this league. If we went back years and looked at the first round, there's going to be probably 1/3 to 2/3 of those players that maybe didn't pan out to be exactly what we thought they would be. So when I see rumors out there of, well, Matvei Michkov is going to fall to 6 or 7, like, respectively, how the hell do you know that? Oh, you know, the Ducks might be drafting not Adam Fantilli. They might be taking Michkov. The Red Wings might trade up to 6 if this person's here. Maybe the Ducks will trade down. Maybe Montreal will trade up. Like it's all these hypotheticals. And yes, it's fun to talk about. But when I did the armchair GM on Cap Friendly, and I looked at a lot of the mock ones as well, that was fun because I think we all know we have tons of statistics about NHL players. Of all of these players that I went through, all the prospects, there are multiple different leagues. Just going right off the top 10, WHL, NCAA, SHL, National Team Development Program, KHL, Hockey Allsvenskan, the National League in Switzerland, got another WHL, OHL. I mean, you got the QMJHL, you've got a Swedish elite league, then you've got a junior under 20 team from Sweden. There's a junior from Russia, the MHL. The thing with statistics is when you have a sample size of the same type of players in the same league, it's easy to compare those players. So in the NHL, when we look at all these player profiles for the Red Wings, it's easy for us to go through and go, oh, that he's in the 90th percentile of players in this specific category because we've compared that player against the rest of the league. They're all in the same boat, right? It's the same game, the same rules, the same teams playing each other all out throughout the season. When you look at a player like Connor Bedard and we sort his statistics and you see he has an insane amount of points, basically 2 points per game and more, versus a player that's in the Swedish Elite League and he has only 15 points, how am I supposed to compare those two and go, here's who I want? If anything has shown us as Red Wings fans is a lot of these guys coming from, say, the Swedish Elite League, coming from a pro league, I think are more in tune of like making the jump to playing professional a little quicker than, say, a kid in WHL or the Ontario League or the Q, or even the National Team Development Program, NCAA. There's all these different leagues that have different rule sets, different teams, and there's just different talent levels, right? So to go and try to compare Leo Carlsson versus Matvei Michkov versus Connor Bedard versus Adam Fantilli, they're all in different leagues. So usually, like we just went through Bob's rankings, that's his opinion, right? This isn't statistically like relevant. It's the eye test. There are stats involved. There are people that have been out there that have tried to weight statistics in a certain league higher or lower depending on the level of competition. So if you're playing in the Swedish league and you're playing against men who are in their 30s and they've been playing professional for 15 years versus you're playing in the WHL and you're like 18 years old and you're playing against 17-year-olds and you're the oldest one there, like, you know what I mean? So you can see the comparisons I'm trying to make. So I'm just not a fan of looking at mock drafts. I'm not one to eat up any of the rumors because I don't think there's stock in any of them. If you see fans posting on Twitter about, I like this guy or I like this player, we just saw it, right? I talked about Zadina. I talked about Seider. I have learned to let the draft happen. Trust Steve Yzerman. He's going to make the right selection. That's what we should be rooting for, is any player that he takes, we say it's a good pick because that's what we have to believe. Saying a pick is good or a pick is bad, to me, inherently just sounds really stupid because nobody knows. And there's just countless examples throughout history for every team, not just the Red Wings, every single team. If I have to leave Red Wings fans with one thing, first round is on Wednesday. I really hope there's a lot of trades. I hope the Red Wings pick somebody up. Maybe we get to Brinkett, maybe go for Konechny, but don't set yourself up for disappointment. You know, having a list of guys or the Red Wings draft somebody that you don't know or that you didn't realize they would go for. Think of Mo Seider, think of Philip Zadina, think of Evgeny Svechnikov, think of Dylan Larkin, think of Anthony Mantha. Like there's all these different players that went in different spots in the draft that worked out completely differently. Just because a guy is up at the top doesn't mean he's going to be a stud for us, or it doesn't mean he's going to suck either. Going into Wednesday, I hope everybody enjoys the first round. I'm definitely going to be on TikTok, so catch me there for my immediate reactions to what's going on. And then we're going into free agency, and we're going to have some interesting things happen there with the Wings too. Let's see if we use any of these draft picks in the first round or the second round. We're going to use a few of them. I think there's going to be a few trades. Try not to get your hopes up. Go with the flow. Trust Steve Yzerman until he gives you a reason not to. So until the next one, like the video, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you for the draft, and we'll see you for free agency.